we do have a quorum, so we will conduct business. This is September 21st at exactly, 2022 at exactly 6 p.m. Let the record also show that Town Clerk Gray is also in attendance. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Byers,
Yes.
the speaker's not working, or the microphone's not working very well. I can't hear anything.
Okay. No, she's got it down.
Is that better, Ron?
Not much.
Yeah, it's picking up everything it can. I'm not really sure what the problem is.
Okay, that was good this morning, but
Well, we were in a different room this morning, so that could be part of the reason.
okay, give it a shot.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to recognize some special guests. We have Sheriff Johnson is here from the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department. We have Jim Rogers from our staff. He is our SMO. Carolyn Thacker from the Star Valley Ranch Association. And I know I'll forget somebody. Craig Adler from Trails, and Mike Black from P&Z, and Boyd Sidaway from Water. And Rurock, from NRB, who is also running for office, and Kirsten, who is also running for office. I know who you are. There you go. All right. Thank you so much. The first item of business is to reconvene from our workshop. So if I could get a motion to reconvene.
I so move.
Second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Hearing none opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to adopt the regular agenda. But first, is there anything from the consent agenda that you would like to move forward? Yes.
Mayor,
Yes?
item 6A in the adopted consent agenda is the actual approved minutes for the meeting last month. That should be moved up.
So you want to move the minutes from August 17th up to the
Is
regular agenda?
that's normally done in a regular meeting?
No, it's always been in the consent.
It's been the consent agenda for years.
Really? I thought we always approved them.
Yeah, by approving the consent.
Yeah,
agenda.
we approved the consent agenda, which approves everything in there.
Okay, I'll go for it.
So you're okay, or you want to move it forward?
No, that's fine. Man, I thought we did that as a matter of approval every time, so,
No?
but that's all right.
Okay,
I'm losing it.
Councilman Hanson,
Councilman Hanson?
turn your microphone off, please. It's causing feedback.
Councilman Bailey, did you want to move something forward?
Yes, I do. I would like to move the sheriff's report to, I believe it's number 7, for anybody that might have questions about it, to Shane Johnson when he's
And you know, he doesn't write that report.
right,
We will move it forward.
but he's thoroughly
He's the
ready
knowledge.
for it.
Okay, all right, so, could I get a motion then to approve the regular agenda as amended?
I so move we approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Hearing none opposed, motion carries. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
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 Hearing none opposed, motion carries. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is Sheriff Johnson. If you would like to come up to the podium, and can you put that report up on the screen, please?
So find it.
I think
It's down a
it
ways.
was on page 6.
No, it's further down.
It's way down. It's planning and zoning, natural resources, economic, municipal, next one.
22. Okay, there you go. Let me scroll down just a little bit. So, welcome, thank you for coming, we really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the opportunity to come and give an update or answer any questions. Again, appreciate the invite and the ability to do that. I know you're still getting our monthly reports of what's going on. They're pretty basic, but it gives you some type of an idea as I look through them. Our citations and warnings are pretty unimpressive, as I'm sure has been noticed. We need to, and that is often one of the biggest citizens' concerns is about the speeding. I will say, last year I moved almost to the ranch, but way north, so I have an opportunity to come through here more often in my county vehicle, but also my personal vehicle. And it's like anywhere else, for the most part, people behave, and then you'll get one that's just about blows your doors off, and it's kind of like that, where's the cop when you need them, you know? I'm usually in my Toyota Tacoma going to the golf course when that happens, so not much good, but, so we do recognize that that's still a concern and something that we need to focus on. Other than that, it's the basic stuff you probably noticed throughout the county and through the area, the growth and the increased traffic and the construction up here in that area. We get a lot of complaints about what's going on there, but maybe the elephant in the room is a big incident that probably everybody's aware of over, a couple weeks ago that took up a lot of resources and a lot of time, and it's not typical for what we have in this county, although not unheard of. It's something that gets the attention. So, with that, I real quick address some, just kind of where we're at, sheriff's office wise. As you can imagine, with the way things have changed in the county and prices through the roof, it has a direct result on our ability to recruit manpower. We're currently down 2 deputies, so we're running pretty much a skeleton crew. We hope to address that with some testing here in the near future, and also maybe a lateral transfer that is good for us because it gets that person on the road that much quicker. But we're at the county level, I'm trying to address wages. I don't want this to come across as an excuse or for anything. We just need to get up to speed manpower-wise, and it makes it difficult with what housing costs right now. It's one of those growing pains that we're going through. So we continue to work on that, work with the commissioners to try and address some of the wages and get more competitive. When we lose people to Teton County for $16,000 to $20,000 a year or more, it's pretty tough to compete with that. Again, I don't want that to come across as like an excuse for anything we're not doing as well as we should be, but it is something that we need to continue to address to be able to be fully staffed. So, if there's any specific questions that you'd like me to talk about, I know typically there's a few things questions that people have, and I'd be more than happy to try and answer those. If I don't have an answer, I'll get you one. But
We have a couple of, Mr. Sue.
I have an accolade and a question or a suggestion, I should say.
okay.
During that incident, I was signed up for your emergency alerts, and it worked fine. It worked really good with that. That was a super deal. It was followed up by the town. They reinforced it again. However, my suggestion is when it's over with, send another one out. It was 2 days later when nobody knew anything, people were calling me, so I called your dispatch, no, not dispatch, what do I call it, lady. And she said, no, it was all over with, and it happened the night before. So all I would do is suggest, that, you know, it's, don't stop using it, but if there's a chance to improve it, that would be a
Point taken. And I was, things moved pretty rapidly and it was pretty dynamic there for a while, but we missed that to get that out, and that was important, so I appreciate that.
It's scary when we get it, but I'd rather have it than not.
Right, I understand. What the discussion was, and which was, you know, my decision is, we felt like, there wasn't a high risk to anybody else. However, if you have somebody that's armed and we're looking for him, you never know what's gonna happen. So we're always are on the side of safety and get that, word out. Not to mention, it turns, sheriff's office looking for him into a whole community looking for him, and that's always helpful for us. But I appreciate the comments, I'll go a bit better on that.
Carol? Okay.
Carolyn Thacker. I'm trying to read that screen, but
You
it's.
can't make it any
small.
bigger.
Well, I need other glasses, I guess. So, am I reading there's nothing under drugs? Do we have any drug activity going around here? I mean,
So, there is nothing under there, so what I would say about that is, it only shows up on there if we catch them and know about it. So assume that there isn't any would be not accurate. But, we are fortunate in the fact that it's not a huge problem, but other than the fact that any amount is a problem, I would say that we're not rampant with drugs. Having said that, we do have drugs in the community. I don't think Star Valley Ranch is exempt from that. We've seen an increase in the last couple of years of heroin, which we never saw for a long time. That was kind of a big city drug, but we have seen heroin. It's typically, heroin users are transitioning from pain meds, because sometimes heroin is easier to get than pain meds. You can go to Salt Lake, Idaho Falls and get it. When a doctor stops prescribing you opioids, heroin does that for you. So that's always a concern. That's a hardcore drug. Of course, meth is, in my mind, the absolute worst of anything, because it's just so damaging and it's so hard for people to recover from and kick on their own. So that continues to be a problem. Marijuana is always an issue, especially where attitudes have changed to the point where, because it's legalized in some form or another around us, it's kind of people accept it as just the way it is. And Wyoming, it's still illegal, but you go anywhere around us and it's legal. So Wyoming hasn't given up on that. I know there's a lot of different thoughts on it. I'm not for legalizing it. I never have been. All the arguments about, well, it's not worse than alcohol, yeah, that's great. That's not a reason to legalize it in my mind. So we do see some of that. Obviously, we had an incident, which is not typical marijuana use, but an incident today in the south part of the county where someone from, we'll take this the wrong way, but someone from California we were dealing with, and she had marijuana with her, and she decided she didn't want to go into custody, so she ran the patrol car and then led us on a pursuit. Ended up in her vehicle wrecked in about 3 patrol cars from various departments with damage. And so we're seeing more of that kind of stuff, just as the increase in traffic and the increase in people coming through here and the increase in population. And that's going to bring an increase in the controlled substance area as well.
well, the main reason, I guess, I also want to know that is, you know, our town here, a lot of people, I don't know a lot anymore, they go away for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
So their residence is a prime place for drug people to break in and do whatever, and so, you know, I didn't know if there was more activity.
Yeah, I don't, I know that's always been an issue because of the seasonal residents. I don't think it's any worse than it has been. And you can sometimes directly relate that to drugs. I think that's probably not where the majority of that's coming from. It's opportunists and burglaries rather than that may or may not be related to drugs. But we're still focused on drugs. We have a full-time DCI agent in our office that works for the state, and their main focus is drug, and then we have one of our guys assigned to DCI full-time that's an employee of the sheriff's office, and their main focus is drugs in Lincoln County and the surrounding. They get called out to other counties, but they also have the ability to call those DCI agents from the western region of Wyoming to come in and help with our cases as well. So we still focus on that, and it's still out there. We're working on that.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have one. My name's Don Bailey. With the increase in population in the valley, mainly our valley, Alpine and everything, and the increase of people, crime in the valley, how is Star Valley Ranch related to the rest of the county? Are we our sweet little nice village?
So, what I would say, I think that when you compare this crime rate totally, that Star Valley Ranch is in a very good place. Now, you're not going to end up with a lot of the things that Alpine or Thane ends up with because of the lack of retail and 24-hour and bars that are open late. So those create a lot of calls for service, and Star Valley Ranch doesn't have that. I've said many times, Lincoln County, Star Valley Ranch, far from perfect, but it's better than any place else, and I still believe that. We're not without our issues. Quality of life here is still amazing, and we continue to work to keep it that way. We're to the point at the sheriff's office, I told you we're down 2 deputies, we're working on that right now, but that we just need to increase. We were at a time, we were, 15 years ago, we had one guy on at night to cover all of Star Valley area. That's not realistic anymore. That's not gonna cut it. We have to have at least a couple out, and preferably 3 out, because it's a big area, and there's just enough people that the calls for service are going up. But we're certainly not rampant with crime. We don't deal with a lot of the stuff at the volume that other places do. So.
Well, I'm sure a lot of citizens would like to hear that we are
That we are.
a safer village, safer than.
Well, we're safe. It's a good place. Again, we do have calls for service here. We have incidents that happen, and quality of life incidents that happen, but we are in a good place. I'm certainly not gonna get up in here and tell you, hey, there's nothing to worry about. You don't need to lock your cars, although most people still don't. And
Well, I know we've had some bad noise at Foxwood Park. I think a couple of them, one up at Cedar Creek Trail, and I think a couple of those you caught because they left evidence like a truck turned over.
yeah.
Oh, that was the Foxwood Park.
Right.
Ron, did you have a question?
I just want to say something, this is far started out of Ranch. We moved up here 11 years ago. We come from a place in Missouri, which is the drug capital of the world. If you look it up, Franklin County in Missouri, bad drugs. It's even getting so bad down here now, out in the country, if people got dogs to watch your house while they're at work or something, they're going in there and poisoning the dogs so they can go back in there later on, wild houses. Star Valley Ranch doesn't like to safer here than anywhere else. We live with doors unlocked, you ain't got nothing to worry about. The kids here in the valley are the most respectful kids I ever see. And you go down to Missouri, them kids, they're the least respectful kids that you didn't want to be around. But after we got up here to Seattle, respectful these kids are. They've been raised right. And you haven't got near the drug problem as what any other place has got. Started out with trying to save this place. You guys do a good job too, so. But I think it's just a great place here, you know, like I said, you ain't got that much to worry about drugs. There is a few around.
And I agree with you, it's a great place. Our job is to keep it that way, and that's the way I really feel. We are more of a, we still have the ability to be somewhat proactive. And so you can't fly under the radar here for very long without drawing attention and getting on our radar. In other places,
You wouldn't want to live in Missouri, I mean, that Franklin County area, it's a world's worst. You know,
it's been a long time ago, but I came here from Las Vegas PD, and so my sense of what we're able to do is, you know, based on that. But we are still able to be proactive. We're still able to address quality of life issues and safety issues, and not be just totally proactive where we're just cleanup crew for everything that's gone bad. So that's a good thing.
I gotta say good things for the world.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I see you had 14 911 calls. Was any of those serious, or is that a typical month, or
So
how would you rank that?
So those will range from anything to medical to somebody who pushed the button on their Apple Watch for too long and it called us. So some of the updates that we've done in dispatch, we've come a long way in dispatch to where we are able to, some of the improvements allow us to get a reading on where that phone might be, because I mean, I don't know what the percentage in here, most people do not have a home phone anymore when it comes through the cell phone. With that, there's an increase in 911 calls that are not for an emergency. We field several of those a day, so they still fall under that, but some of those would be translated directly into the medical response. And sometimes it's a ready reports, meaning somebody's following a car and they're concerned that they might be intoxicated. All those things that would qualify for the so.
I have one quick question. We had, there were some issues a couple of years ago about when, if you call 911, you may end up in Bonneville County or Caribou County. Is that better?
It's gotten better.
Okay.
So the issue there is that the tower is in Idaho, and we've worked really hard with Bonneville and the service providers to make sure that those pies that get hit from this area when you call 911 get directed to our dispatch instead of Bonneville. So two things have happened. One is that we've worked very closely with Bonneville dispatch to make sure there's a much smoother transition in the case that the 911 does go there. We were at a point a few years ago where they would say, they would just forward it and then hang up, and that's terrible and sends the wrong message. We've worked really hard with them, and then we've worked hard with the service providers to make sure that they're going the right direction. There's still, with technology, there's still going to be the calls that go over there. AT&T is pretty much fixed. Verizon is, for whatever reason, much harder to deal with, and there's always going to be segments where we even have it from Afton to go to Bonneville, which is off a tower that's not even the same. Those things happen. We're not trying to focus on those. We're trying to focus on, we want to fix everything, but getting the ones that should be directed to our center. And we've got that, I'm going to say about 75% fixed. But working with Verizon, some of those big companies is a struggle sometimes. We're kind of small fish for them, but we'll get there.
Good, thank you. Any other questions from anyone? All right, I appreciate you coming. Bye, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I do want to say real quick, I appreciate the involvement of Star Valley Ranch. If you go to a commission meeting sometimes, it's just us right here. I mean, I'll go report there, and so it's one thing that I've always thought was great about Star Valley Ranch is people care here and they're involved and not trying to blow sunshine. I really, every time I've been here, there's people that care about what's going on. It's a big deal.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. Okay, let's move on to prior business. The first item on the agenda is ordinance 2022-12. And that is up to you. Talk loud.
Ordinance 2022-12, traffic code, chapter 71, roads, vehicles, and traffic control, and chapter 72, snow removal. The explanation for this, we were just updating some language to clarify responsibility for property in the town's right-of-way and to prohibit parking on roads during snow removal or road maintenance. There were no changes from the first reading to this reading, and consequently, I move the town of Star Valley Ranch approve the second reading of ordinance 2022-12, Title 7, Traffic Code, Chapter 71, Roads, Vehicles, and Traffic Control, and Chapter 72, Snow Removal, as written.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions from the audience on this? Council?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 2022-13. Councilman Ellis, this is the second reading.
Second reading of ordinance 2022-13, Title 11, Business Regulations, Chapter 112, Contractor Registration. There have been no changes since the first reading. This was mainly to update some plumbing, HVAC contractors and limited contractors, and make sure they have insurance is required. Therefore, I move the town of Star Valley Ranch approve the second reading of ordinance 2022-13, Title 11, Business Regulations, Chapter 112, Contractor Registration as written.
Second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions from the audience? Council?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is ordinance 2022-14. Councilman Ellis?
This is second reading of ordinance 2022-14, Title 15, Land Usage, Chapter 150 in Buildings. This is an update mainly pertaining to commercial buildings. There are no changes since the last reading, and that brings us up to date on snow loads, and we've got the right sub-character. So I move the town of Star Valley Ranch approve the second reading of ordinance 2022-14, Title 15, Land Usage, Chapter 115, Buildings as written.
Second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions from the audience on this? From council?
No.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Hearing none opposed, motion carries. Now, next item on the agenda is new business, and this is ordinance 2022-15. This is some corrections to the short-term rental. And Councilman Hanson, would you like
Sure.
to take that one?
The explanation of ordinance 2022-15, Title 11, Business Regulations, Chapter 113, Short-Term Rental Permits. We decided we needed to update some language in the existing code to reflect the need for a local contact and to add reference to the municipal court bond schedule in regard to operating without a permit. We ran into some problems, so we decided we needed to enhance some of the language to get the attention of some short-term rental permit or short-term rental owners. The change to chapter 113.05, we rewrote the one sentence that now reads, the permit holder must provide their name and contact information and, instead of or, the name of a contact and contact information of a local representative living in Star Valley, also new language, designated by the permit holder to handle complaints or correspondence of the short-term rental unit. We were having cases, of course, where the short-term rental owner was out of state and were actually not doing anything or was unable to do anything about the complaint of the neighbors. And so we need to have a representative that lives in Star Valley. Another change was to 113.08, permit revocation. We added a sentence, previously the only thing that qualified as good cause was making a false material statement in the permit application. We are adding the language as follows: multiple failures of the local representative to respond to complaints from residents will also lay the foundation for good cause. And then in chapter 113.12, operating without a permit, we have added a little bit of language as well. Property owners who are found to be operating a short-term rental unit without a permit will receive $300 fine and notice of a violation in writing from the town. The notice of violation will request that the violator file an application for a short-term rental permit, and new language here, within 14 days of receipt of the violation notice in the event that they desire to continue offering short-term rentals. And then at the end of this particular section, we have added C, the bond schedule, 35.01, bond schedule and court appearances to the short-term rental permit. So with that being said, I move the town of Star Valley Ranch approve the first reading of ordinance 2022-15, Title 11, Business Regulations, Chapter 113, Short-Term Rental Permits, as written.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions on this from the audience? Okay, we have a couple of people, so.
Yeah, I'm Ron Thacker. In the second paragraph you read, Lee, you said multiple. How many is multiple? Is it 2? Is it 100? I would encourage you to be a little more specific on that. That's really a wide range for an opportunity for people to do that.
Okay. May I respond to
Yes,
that?
please.
You're right, that is a word in the eye of the beholder as far as whether multiple is 2 or 3 or 5, but we can review that further for the second reading and see if we want to put a specific number there. This was trying to address the concerns of neighbors in specific that say, I've called them multiple times, and so we left the word multiple to begin with, but if we can come up with something more specific, we will.
Yeah, I understand that. But, you know, you get the guys that are doing it all the time, and what is multiple? You know, is it two, is it
I understand. We'll look at it again.
That was definitely a discussion back
Yeah.
then, is how to fix this.
Right, and Commissioner Roberts, we've got exactly the same comment. Some of the language could be something like documented failures rather than multiple failures. Because I do think that's probably a little squishy to leave it multiple. So that was some language that we put on that, or had that happening on that forefront, so I don't know.
Even documented, it doesn't say how many. I mean, is one adequate, or does it take five?
Any documented failure.
So,
Yeah,
so
so
we're,
yeah.
we're good to get documented failures to begin with, so.
We definitely should revisit that. because that
We
was
can
one of the
revisit that,
reasons
and
it should-
yeah, we should make sure that they are documented, and also we should try to hone in on a number that we think makes sense.
Craig, you got a question?
Yeah, Craig, in the next part of that sentence, it says the representative has to respond. That's pretty wide open too, because if you get a hold of them and then they just don't do anything, but they responded. It doesn't say that they fixed the problem, they just say they responded, you know what I mean? And that seems the same sentence.
The thinking was that perhaps if nothing happens and then the neighbor has called and made a complaint, then that will encourage them to document and send it into the town. We have a new system coming that might make that a lot easier. But you're,
I'm not there,
yeah.
if there's a way to document it so that, yeah, otherwise the representative can just say, yeah, they call them back, and everything's fine.
All right, we're looking at that too.
Mike, you guys comment?
Yeah, on the fine for not having a permit for a short-term rental, I think I'd raise that, to deter people. I know of a situation where we have someone that's needed right now, but doesn't even have a CO when they're running out. So if you can make that more stiff to deter people from doing things they shouldn't be doing.
I think that was, we were going to address that in the second reading, we had that discussion.
Yes, I was gonna.
And we agree.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, here at 113, 112, and then down in the bond schedule. My wife religiously looks at these to see, make sure everybody has permits, as does Rue. They get together, they compare notes.
That's dangerous.
They compare notes. My wife and I go out and look at the house to make sure that we are at the right house. Rue verifies it. But we do have one gentleman who is testing our whatever. And yes, my wife is looking tonight at 4:30. She says, oh, whatever. But anyway, maybe on second reading, court appearance, I want to talk to the judge and see what he can help me with to put some good language in. So for second reading, I would definitely like to look at something in there.
Now it says 300 for the first citation, 750 for the second, and if they continue to do it, then it's court appearance.
I think you start at 750.
So you're suggesting that 300
Was not high enough. I started 750.
start at 750, because we're limited at 750 as far as what we
Whatever your limit is, go to your.
But the court appearance, I mean, the judge can throw him in jail.
What we're
So
seeing
there's-
is that the fine really doesn't matter to some of these people right now. We've got a couple.
Right.
This particular one, and there's a couple.
The business is
I'll just
pretty
pay the fine,
lucrative.
this is what I want to do. So it's an interesting attitude that we're trying to figure out, but I did raise it, and I believe that when they have to go to court, if their attitude changes a bit.
An argument for raising that additional bond value It's $300 is one night's rental.
Or less.
Or,
I mean,
yeah, no, you're
maybe
right.
It's a half a night.
Well, I kind of like the court here, so I went, not as a defendant, as an observer, and whatever the judge was up there for, the judge told up to 750 or 6 months. So maybe somebody made it through,
Yeah.
or both.
Or both.
So, maybe that threat may make them.
So yes, thank you for your feedback. We'll definitely address that with them.
Linda Hanson, why, if you have an ordinance, do you give them more than one shot? What time? Why not just call them, give them a ticket? If I was speeding, I wouldn't give a warning, I'd give a ticket, especially if I'd already been warned. I'm just saying, if you want to put some bike down ordinance, make it one, make it solid amount, and go for it.
Thank you. All right, really has tickets, by the way.
I'm sure I'll hear more about that.
Yeah, we appreciate your feedback. These are always a challenge, so
Good counseling.
it means a lot. All right, moving forward. Any other questions? Town council?
No.
We're good? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Hearing none, did he say aye?
Yes.
Hearing none opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is, I believe, the bond schedule. Councilman Hanson, I did give you a lot.
Sure. Ordinance 2022-16, Title III Administration, Chapter 35 Municipal Court. The only change to this, the bond schedule, was to add the 113.12, which I just talked about, which was operating a short-term rental without a permit. And right now, which may change, our first offense will be 300, second offense was 750, and third offense was court appearance. So we may try to stiffen that up a bit based on input I've heard tonight. So, based on that, I move the town of Star Valley Ranch approve the first reading of ordinance 2022-15, Title III, Administration, Chapter 35, Municipal Court, as written.
Second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions from the audience? Council?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Hearing none opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the vision and mission statement. And Nancy Ellis, would you like to walk us through this? Thank you so much. And thanks for all you have done for us. We appreciate it.
Believe me, I didn't do it by myself.
No.
Kristen is the only one here from our group. We had a larger group this morning in the workshop this week, whatever it is with the town council. And as I begin, I do want to say that I went back through, I'm pretty OCD about things, so I have notes about notes to take notes on notes. So I went clear back a year and a half ago. I need a, oh, I'm sorry. And here I was in the major once upon a time. Of course, that was a long time. Got it? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, so anyway, I went back to see where this began because it's been a process. And I met with the town council, and we talked about the need to update the vision and mission and to update the master plan, because the 5-year master plan was actually 8 years old. And we really had some interesting conversations around how would we do it? Do we do a survey? Do we do focus groups? How do we involve the community? What role do the residents of the town take? And so we had a lot of discussions around that. And basically, in the very beginning, as we developed a strategic plan to put together the vision and mission statements and hopefully end up with the master plan, we talked about how we would put together representation from the community, and we decided that we would do focus groups to begin with, and then what we would glean from the focus groups we would use for the surveys that went out last January. But one of the things that I found fascinating is I've forgotten how much conversation we had at the council level about the kinds of questions, the kinds of information that the mayor and the town council really wanted to know from the citizens about what they wanted, in their vision and mission and master plan. So we had a lot of discussions around that, and once we came up with a host of questions, there were many. We did some iterations and broke them out categorically and really worked on that in that first period through June 2021. And then we talked about, okay, so how do we go about that? How do we get representation from citizens so that we cover all groups? We know we have retirees, we know we have involvement with the homeowners association, we know we have commuters, we know we have parents with families, right? How do we get them all involved? And we decided to create 5 focus groups for citizens, looking demographically and geographically, wanting to make sure as we pulled out demographically representation of different groups, that we also represented Star Valley Ranch geographically, and then had the leadership team made up of the board chairs and the town council and the mayor for the 5th group that we went through. And that really made up that first part as a discussion of how we would do that, how we would develop the groups, and then of course how we fund it all, because it was it cost a bit. In July, what we did is as we moved forward strategically, I put together a steering committee of individuals, Kirsten was one of them, who helped us really develop the whole process. We identified, the mayor informed me that Val Smith had come to her and said, if you're going to be doing a survey process or focus group process, I have 40 years experience doing this at Sacramento State, or University of Sacramento, California. And he volunteered to do that, and he stepped up and we all went together. We took the questions that we'd gotten from the town council, and we developed a list of questions that we would ask in the focus groups. And as Val had stated, we beta tested the focus groups. We used the information that we gleaned in the conversations of the focus groups to really tell us what was most important to folks that needed to go into the questions that were most important to folks that needed to go into the survey. And we did that through the fall of 2021. We were hoping to get the survey out before the holidays, but I have to say we were all newbies at this, and by the time we got the printer and the mailing and all of that put together, we were too close to the holidays, and what we were afraid of is that we sent out the mailings and we ignored them, tossed them, thought 13, and we never heard from them again, so we waited until January to send out the surveys. And I want to tell you that we sent out 1,400 surveys to Star Valley Ranch residents, and we got over 1,100 surveys back. And anyone who does survey research knows that that is a huge percentage return. We're lucky if we get 5, 6, 7. If you're really happy, it's 12% returns on surveys, so that was great. And then Val Smith, Dr. Smith, took all of that data that came in, those 1,100 plus surveys, and manually entered those into a system that he had called Corpus that actually in real time could analyze the data as it came forward. And we set up first a presentation of the data results to the mayor and the town council so that they could see what we had learned. And then we set up both in-person and Zoom meetings for the residents of the community so that they could see what we had learned. And then Val wrote an executive summary of the results from the survey that is still posted on the website, so the citizens in town can actually look at that and see what we learned. And we did that through February into May. And then we started looking at, okay, so now we've got all of this information. Now we know what the priorities are that the people in Star Valley Ranch think are important. Now we need to develop the vision and mission statements. And kind of going back to the beginning of them, when we talked about vision and mission statements with the town council, I pulled up vision and mission statements from multiple communities around Wyoming. And we chose Green River because we liked the way the format was. And that is the format we used, so that when we, and then we went back to the focus groups in July, and we made sure we had demographic representation again, but we pulled from those original focus groups about 100+ people to bring a core group of people of about 20 to develop the vision and mission statements. And we did that over, I don't know, 4 or 5 hour period, Kirsten. What was fun to me is these folks just worked together, and it was amazing what they did, and the thoughtfulness that they put in trying to make sure that they dealt with fidelity, the priorities of the community. And once those were put together, we actually came back one last time and wordsmithed everything to try to get as good a document as we could to go to the town council for their review. We're a little late coming this time, and I'm going to try to keep this moving. I got COVID twice, so we didn't get to present as quickly as we wanted to, so we were late getting all of this moving forward. But the bottom line is, in the end, between the focus groups, between the work of the steering committee and Val, between this key group of 20 individuals who really worked enormous number of hours to get this all put together, we came up, and I don't want to leave this, and with the feedback we got from the mayor and the town council on the pieces that they really felt were critical that needed to go into these, so that it was a merging of thoughts and ideas, that we came up with the vision and mission statements, and that's going to be the motion tonight. I do want to tell you that one of the, and I'll close with this because it'll go forward to the motion, one of the joys I've had doing this for a year and a half is I've gotten to know so many of my neighbors and value their intent and integrity and skills and intelligence and willingness to commit time when they think it's important. And I can't tell you enough how thrilled I am to be part of a community like Star Valley Ranch, to know that people of this quality live here and I get to live among them because they built me up. Thank you.
Okay, Town of Star Valley Ranch, vision statement. The Town of Star Valley Ranch, large letter A, is a beautiful mountain community in a rural setting adjacent to the Bridger Teton National Forest. Is a family-oriented community offering a wide variety of indoor and responsible outdoor recreation with a solid infrastructure and characterized by planned responsible development. Now, the A, B, C, D, E are in there specifically. The format that was picked up then moves down to clarify what is meant by that. Town of Star Valley Ranch mission statement. The mission of the Town of Star Valley Ranch is to enhance the standard of life for residents by providing a rural lifestyle, outdoor and indoor recreation, and quality town infrastructure in a financially responsible manner. Communication is clear and consistent, and programs and services are implemented in such a way that every resident and neighborhood is served in a timely, safe, efficient, friendly, and effective manner. I move the Town of Star Valley Ranch adopt the vision and mission statements as developed through an extensive year-long process by residents of Star Valley Ranch through the direction of a citizen steering committee, which facilitated citizen focus groups, developed a community-wide survey, and used extensive citizen input in writing the documents while coordinating with the town council.
Second?
I second.
Any questions from, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions from the audience? Spent a lot of time on this, thank you. Council?
No.
None.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Hearing none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, Yeah, just so residents know, the document will most likely go up on the webpage sometime in the not too distant future. At the next workshop, we will proceed to finalize the request for proposal to get the consultant, so we get to keep this thing moving.
Thank you.
Yes, so that one of the things I didn't mention is the last master plan was a 5-year master plan, and it was agreed this morning that this master plan would be a 10-year master plan. And the rationale being that the projects just take longer. So it just seemed like giving a longer timeline would give time to really show progress that's being made on those projects that are really more long-term.
And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the steering committee. People participated in the focus groups, which was about 40 people, and the 20, as Nancy was talked about, that put together the mission and vision statement. I think they did an exceptional job.
I would agree. And 1,100 that filled out the survey.
Yeah.
Absolutely, everyone who filled out the survey.
Never seen a survey result that
We
high.
obviously. Okay, thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 22-09-21-001. Councilman Hanson.
Resolution number 22-09-21-001. There were some changes done to the original resolution, but as I understand it, will not be reflected in our submission to the ARPA grant. Is that correct?
The updated resolutions with the updated numbers have already been sent to SLID.
Oh, okay. So, this is the water utility to dedicate system replacement and upgrade reserve funds. Resolution for the town of Star Valley Ranch to dedicate $499,466.66. Yeah. From the system replacement and upgrade reserve funds for water improvement project 2022 from the water fund encumbered accounts. Whereas the town of Star Valley Ranch desires to participate in the grant process for ARPA funding for the water improvement project 2022, and whereas the town of Star Valley Ranch desires to utilize system replacement and upgrade reserve encumbered funds for the town match as part of the requirements for the ARPA Water Improvement Project 2022 grant application. And whereas the town currently has the available funds in the system replacement and upgrade reserve fund encumbered account to meet this obligation. Now therefore be it resolved, the town of Star Valley Ranch, upon state approval of the Water Improvement Project 2022, does hereby authorize the town clerk and treasurer to dedicate the $499,466.66 of the system replacement and upgrade reserve funds as a cash match for the Water Improvement Project 2022. Changes to any of these restrictions are by council resolution only, passed and adopted this 21st day of September 2022. I move the town of Star Valley Ranch approve resolution 22-09-21-001 water fund dedicate system replacement and upgrade reserve as written.
Second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions on this resolution? Basically the same one we passed on with some dollar
Was there any
corrections.
work done this summer?
Pardon me?
Was there any work done?
For water?
For the water,
Yeah,
yeah.
the water improvement project 2021 is going on this summer. I think they're actually on Cheyenne Circle right now. They're getting down on the south end. So, yeah, they hope to be finished this year. And this is This funding is for Vista, from Vista West to Vista East, goes up to Green Canyon. It's about a $2.1 million project. Mr.
Just
Superintendent.
one more, the same question, have you got any indication one way or the other? Is this a good indication that they're asking for this particular backup material, or is it just standard operation?
I think it's standard operation.
Look,
We just had to prove that we actually had this money and this is the amount.
one of the things that, if I can clarify this a little bit, one of the things that ended up happening is the ARPA money was invested by the town council in bonds. As you are well aware of, if you know about bonds, as interest rates go up, the value of bonds drop. However, the value remains the same at maturity. The ARPA bonds are coming mature in 2023, so the full amount will still be there. But as of today, the value of those bonds dropped again with the Fed raising the interest rates. So all this is just clarifying that, because the state wanted that. If we get the grant, go back to where we were in the original proposals.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Hearing none, opposed, motion carries. The next item goes along with the first one. This is the ARPA funds portion of it. Councilman Hanson?
Resolution number 22-09-21-002. General Fund to dedicate ARPA funds. Resolution for the town of Star Valley Ranch to dedicate $287,484.11 of American Rescue Plan Act, known as ARPA, revenue replacement funding to Water Improvement Project 2022 from that general fund encumbered accounts. Whereas the town of Star Valley Ranch desires to participate in the grant process for ARPA funding for the Water Improvement Project 2022. Whereas the town of Star Valley Ranch desires to utilize ARPA revenue replacement funds for the town match as part of the requirements for the ARPA Water Improvement Project 2022 grant application. And whereas the town currently has the available funds in the general fund ARPA fund encumbered account to meet this obligation. Now therefore be it resolved, the town of Star Valley Ranch does hereby authorize the town clerk and treasurer to dedicate the $287,484.11 of ARPA revenue replacement funds as a cash match for Water Improvement Project 2022. Changes to any of these restrictions are by council resolution only, passed and adopted this 21st day of September 2022.
Second.
I move the town of Star Valley Ranch approve resolution 22-09-21-002 general fund dedication, excuse me, of ARPA funds as written.
Unofficial second.
Any questions about this document? Sorry. None? Hearing none? Council?
None.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Hearing none opposed, motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is the mayor's update. And this is going to be a little different one today because there's just a lot going on. So I'm going to try to get through this. First of all, and I know for the people who have been here for quite a while, the Bank of Star Valley does an economic and a demographic review every year. And that is now on their website. That's for 21. So if you scroll, you go to their homepage, you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll find it. We're seeing some interesting trends right now. As Sheriff Johnson said, housing is becoming a major problem for us right now. The concerns that Rod Jensen has, who is the head of the bank, is the fact that we have people now working for Lower Valley a linesman, he said, makes with overtime about $130,000 a year. They cannot qualify for a home in Star Valley right now. It's that bad. And so what's happening is we're ending up with our workers, the people who kind of keep us going, they can't find a place to live. And that's becoming a serious problem. We talked, and this was at my county meeting last week, talked quite a bit about how we always kind of made fun of Jackson, and because that was their problem, but now it's become our problem. And so he estimates that we will need, by 2027, we will need an additional 1,000 homes just based on our present growth. So it's pretty interesting. I'm not really sure what the county's doing, and he's kind of put that in their scope to make sure that they start to work towards this. One of the things that came up, and one of the concerns that I know the cities and towns have, and this came up at our WAM meeting last week, is that the legislature may put pressure on cities and towns to change their zoning ordinances or their building codes to make it easier to build. So just kind of a heads up on that one. I think the WAM is just definitely trying to address that, but it's out there. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew about this report. So this is a great report, and I mean, I would recommend that you look at it. It talks about demographics, what's going on in the valley. He does Star Valley, but some of it, I mean, he has a whole section on commuters, where the commuters are coming from. And so it's a pretty extensive report. Extensive. He also has one on grocery prices. They kind of compare it with IF and Jackson and Pierre and Kemmer. So anyway, it's a great report. So I would recommend that you go to their website and read it.
Quick addition to that.
Yep.
When you look at the report, you're going to find out that the next closest town for new single-family homes in Star Valley was 9. We had 20. We're that far ahead of them.
Yeah. But it's really
Scary.
We have a lot of work to do, I guess. So, anyway, so I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. And the next thing I want to talk about is our traffic counters. We kind of talked about this a little bit. They've been in different places in town. The numbers are fairly interesting. So the counters count axles. And so I just kind of took the numbers that our engineer gave me and divided it by 2 and said, you know, it could be mostly cars. And it is mostly cars in our community. There are some trailers, but mostly cars. So not every road's been done, so be prepared. But Cedar Creek Drive, their averaging for a week was 2,871 cars. That's about 400 days. And that was a couple of weeks ago, so that was after Labor Day. So, but anyway, that one is by far the largest as far as the number of cars on that road. Brambleberry was next, and that one is 1,275. And just to give, I know Rod's here, he lives down in that area, but we are moving some of the speed signs over to that road, and I think the guys will be down there grading it. It's on a long list, but they'll be down there.
Which was the first one?
The first one,
Above Brandon,
Cedar Creek Drive.
which one?
Cedar Creek Drive. The road to the clubhouse.
How about where you had hoses here where people was coming in getting their mail and everything?
Yeah, that one we're gonna redo Vista West. The weird thing about that one is I don't know why, the staff sometimes doesn't. But anyway, they put it here, and then they moved it up the hill, and the numbers weren't that different. But that one has to be done again. Vista West has to be, or Vista has to be done again. So I'll kind of go through these. So Brambleberry, so Cedar Creek was 2871. Brambleberry was 1275. Barberry was next at 882. And then it goes to Alpine Way, 770. Solitude, which really surprised me that it's that busy, 657. Vista East, which I'm always told is the busiest road in town, was 440. So substantially less than some of these others. Paiute, which is a lot higher than I thought it was going to be, that one was 408. So very close to Vista East. Birch, 324. Chokecherry, 310. And Elkhorn was 185. So that's based on the number of cars for the week. So the numbers are interesting. They're certainly nothing like the numbers that we had in our road study that was done in 2013. And so I had a couple of questions. Boy, did you have a question?
Just a question and a recommendation. One is recommendations. Can you get all those numbers the minutes, so we have those readily accessible?
Yeah, Kristen has them.
And then the question is, do golf carts, are they heavy enough to count?
They do count.
Yeah.
So do motorcycles, so. Yep. But it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's just like I said, it's completely different than 2013. It's studied. Use a lot more homes. Jim, did you have a question?
We actually had
Is that by the week?
Huh? Yeah,
That's by the week.
yeah. Senator Collins.
Gravel there down there actually had people going around on the scrub oak where it's chip seal, rather than to go through all the potholes.
Yeah.
So you're losing counts.
Yeah, and I don't remember when they had it down there. It's been about 3 weeks ago or so, 4 weeks ago.
I think it was one of the first.
Well,
Yeah, it was one of the first ones, so anyway, yeah, interesting stuff. As we know, we're growing, so I did want to talk about that. The Water Improvement Project 2021, they think they're going to finish this year. So we'll see, they're on Cheyenne right now, I believe. They aren't finished with Cheyenne Circle.
I don't know.
Kristen had to go help them because they couldn't find the house. He said, it takes a girl to show these guys out. All right, let's see. Building permits, I think we have 32 this year. That's kind of the number that I had for single-family homes. I know a couple of people canceled, and they're still having problems finding builders. But that is about what I have. I just wanted to recognize the Natural Resource Board. They raised $11,100. The trails actually did for trails, and that money will be used for trails and community gardens and Fox Run Park. And I think they had about 20 volunteers from the NRB group, so congratulations. That is a lot of work to put that thing on, so we really appreciate it. And then the last thing I had is last week we had a WAM Region 5 meeting. I put something over there. I'm not campaigning for anything, but it is an information sheet on Amendment A. I would be glad to talk to anyone and kind of explain it. And the only thing I can really say is it will definitely benefit the town. And that is, I believe, all I have for the mayor's update. So, upcoming events, we have the Lincoln County Economic Development Board meeting, and that is October 3rd at 10 a.m. in Athens. Town Council Workshop, October 6th at 9 a.m. Columbus Day is October 10th, and Town Hall is closed. Town Council Workshop, October 19th, and the next Town Council meeting will be October 19th at 6 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move the town star Valley Ranch adjourn this meeting.
Second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Thanks for letting us stay.
Aye, thank you. Thank you, Ron.
July.
Aye.